He is a former United States Navy officer. He was the White House physician for both presidents, Barack Obama and Donald Trump. He is now a representative from Texas. He joins me now on the show, Mr. Dr. Ronny Jackson. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, Billy. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being on the program out here in Arizona. A lot of this Hitler talk, Hitler this, Hitler that, it seems like this is the Democrats' last-ditch effort here, almost their October surprise. So what is happening? Kamala Harris said Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews. You know Donald Trump very closely. Have you ever heard that type of rhetoric from him?
Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a Hail Mary. They don't have anything left. This is a failed campaign. She's demonstrated over the last few weeks that she's way too incompetent and, quite frankly, way too stupid to run for president. She shouldn't be the vice president. In fact, a lot of people are starting to realize that. This is just a like I said, a Hail Mary, a desperate last attempt, and I think it's disgraceful that she says things like that. You know, not to mention the fact that President Trump has recently had 2 assassination attempts on his life. People have tried to kill him, and some of these nut jobs that have that have Trump derangement syndrome, they're true crazy nut jobs. I mean, it's all they think about day and night is President Trump, and in some negative fashion. And then to hear Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden get on TV and call him a Nazi, call him Hitler, and say he's a threat to democracy and all this, all it does is inspire people like that. And if the shoe was on the other foot and this were reversed and this was a Democrat that had had these attempts on their life, and there was any rhetoric on the Republican side of the House that's similar to what you're seeing now from the Democrats, they would be losing their minds right now. They would just be just beside themselves. They would probably be coming after those people criminally. I mean, honestly, the way they use, the way they use their government that they're in control of as a weapon against their opponents, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. But it's very dangerous, the rhetoric that's out there right now, and I wish they'd clean it up. And obviously, they don't have anything else they can talk about. They don't really have any accomplishments or any plan for the future.
Well, Ronny Jackson, I mean, just for a moment, take off your medical hat, take off your representative hat, no politics here, just for a moment. Man to man, human to human. You mentioned the political violence, and we know that President Trump has survived 2 assassination attempts that we know of, right, publicly. Who knows what else has been going on behind the scenes. To call him a Hitler sympathizer, to call him a fascist, to call him a dictator, that is signaling to a lot of, unfortunately, mentally ill people in this country, in this world, that, there's this old term we always talk about on the show here, Mr. Jackson. It's if they only would have stopped Hitler in Munich, right? If someone would have took him out in Munich, the whole history of the world and World War II and all that terrible death and horror we would have not seen. Well, if you're signaling that we have the next Hitler that's about to be elected president of the United States, you're telling a lot of mentally unstable people to take him out. And you know what? Like I said, politics aside, this shit needs to be called out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, there are people out there that, that are unstable that hear this, and they take those as marching orders. Even the last guy that, that was planning the assassination attempt that they caught in the woods near the golf course in Palm Beach. The people that talked to him had said like they were scared of the guy because he seemed like he was mentally unstable, and all he talked about was Donald Trump just constantly. There are people out there that literally are dangerous to start with, and for somebody to inspire them like the left is inspiring some of these people right now, it's just, I mean, it should be criminal. It's very dangerous. And President Trump is probably the person that's been more at risk from an assassination attempt based on the threats that are currently out there. And I don't think there's been a president that's ever had the threat profile that President Trump has right now. I honestly don't think the Biden administration, I think they could care less. And I honestly think that they've cleaned it up a little bit now with the Secret Service. He's getting better protection now. But I think initially I talked to the detail a long time ago. Like I'm talking about a year and a half ago, I'd ask his detail, who I really know well, and he has a really good detail that's at his side. And I'd ask them, how things were going and if they were getting everything they need. And they told me, they said, honestly, we don't get half the stuff we asked for. They said we have the smallest detail of any of the formers, yet he travels more, is exposed more, and has a higher threat profile than any of the former presidents, yet has the smallest detail. And they told me that when they ask for things, that a lot of times they get turned down. And I think the attitude within the Secret Service headquarters at the time, I hope that it's not the case now, but definitely with the previous director of the Secret Service, I think the attitude was like, who cares? It's Trump. Nobody cares, right? So when things would come across her desk, the former director, I think she would just dismiss it and say, I don't care. It's Trump. Tell him no, right? And that's what led us to where we're at. And there's just this acceptance from mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, and all of the people on the left, that it's okay to do these kinds of things and to inspire this kind of violence if it's Donald Trump on the receiving end of it. It's a shame.
Well, Ronny Jackson, you ain't on mainstream media right now, so I got to ask you, you obviously served as the White House physician under former President Barack Obama as well, and I don't know what you think of him as a man. I can kind of guess what you think of him politically, but as a man, can you imagine these type of threats and this type of threat level for Barack Obama and what would be happening in the national media right now? I mean, it would be insane. Yet we turn on CNN, we turn on even Fox and MSNBC, and we don't see this as a big story. To me, this is a major story. You have threats on a former president who could, in fact, be our next sitting president. If these threats were happening to Barack Obama, how do you think the narrative would change?
Oh, I think that you would hear nothing but that from mainstream media and everybody else on the left. That's just all they would talk about, and they control the media to some extent, which is a shame, right? We know this. Mainstream media, the liberals in radio, TV, social media, certainly. They're basically the communications arm of the Democrat Party. They essentially are part of that party. It would be relentless. I mean, that'd be all we talk about. There'd be all kinds of investigations. Congress would be completely spun up about it nonstop. It would be very different, to be sure.
By the way, Ronny Jackson, as President Barack Obama's former physician, did you ever have a sit-down conversation with him and like, hey, dude, you need to hold off on those 2 packs a day, the cigarettes?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He did quit smoking after about 14 months, but yeah, I think that was one of the conversations that happened early. And I was there before he got there as well. I was there for 3 years with Bush as well, so I did Bush, Obama, and Trump. And yeah, I mean that's the one thing I guess health-wise that he did that was the right thing to do.
Let me ask you this, just real quick, not to get too far off the tracks here, but so you're under Bush, under Obama, and under Trump. We know that because of his late brother, President Trump does not drink a drop of alcohol. Right. Bush and Obama have been known to, put one back here and there. Out of those two gentlemen, which one drank more?
Between Bush and Obama?
Yeah.
Well, Bush didn't drink anymore by the time I knew him at the White House. I think he stopped drinking when he was about 45 years old or so. I don't remember. I've heard him talk about it before. But he wasn't drinking. He didn't drink at the White House at all. He didn't. And Obama didn't drink a ton. But, yeah, he drank a little bit. He had a martini here and there. But neither one of them, obviously Bush didn't drink at all. Trump didn't drink at all. And Obama didn't drink that much. So I think, I wonder sometimes when I watch TV if Kamala Harris is drinking, though. I mean, I think that there's a good chance that she drinks pretty regularly. Some of the stuff I've seen on TV can only be explained by, by drunkenness or complete stupidity. It's probably a little of both. But
it might be rosé all day with Kamala. I'm not sure if she looks like she's having a good time out there. So on a serious note, Trump's opponents right now, there's a narrative going out there. They're calling him increasingly unhinged and unstable. And we've seen this from Karine Jean-Pierre. We've seen this right from Kamala Harris, right from the horse's mouth. So you've served under President Trump. This unstable word, it kind of gets into the Biden medical stuff. Like he's getting older and he's not all there mentally. As a physician, do you see that?
Of course not. It's hilarious that they're going to go down that path, right? They couldn't dare say anything like that while Biden was around, right? Because he was an absolute cognitive nightmare. He actually literally has a serious cognitive decline and should not be in the White House as we speak right now. So, I think they saw some of that work, when people were talking about it with Biden. Obviously, he portrayed it. He put it on full display for the American people every single day. But it's just, once again, I think it's just another desperate attempt. They're doing anything and everything they can to try to create some kind of doubt in people's minds or some kind of narrative that he's he's going to be unhinged, he's going to be crazy, he's going to be he's going to be a dictator, But the problem with this argument is that he's on TV all the time, and he's talking to the press, he's talking to the American people every single day for hours and hours on end, and everybody knows that he's completely cognitively, all there. I mean, there's zero evidence that he's not. Whereas, Biden just occasionally got on TV, and it was very obvious that he wasn't. And now Kamala gets on, and it's obvious that she is literally, I mean, I've said this before, I think the perfect description for her is a box of rocks. I think she is literally dense. I don't think she's very smart at all. I don't know. I kind of do know, but how she got to where she's at. But she is an absolute disaster, and to have her, I mean, I can only imagine what our adversaries are gonna think of us, and our adversaries don't fear us, and our allies don't trust us already with Biden in office. Can you imagine if she becomes our commander in chief? What it's going to be like? It's going to be dangerous for our country.
Ronny Jackson, I understand what you're insinuating there, how she got where she's at, but on a serious note, and I don't know if you want to go there, that's up to you, sir. But on a serious note. At least lately in the short term, she got to where she's at because she was the vice president. We had a president that obviously stepped down and stopped running because of his cognitive decline, his mental problems. And then she was just sort of crowned, like a crown was put on her. I believe that if she does lose this election, Democrats to the left are going to go absolutely crazy, and they're going to be calling out Schumer. They're going to be calling out Pelosi. They're going to be calling out the Obamas. They're going to be calling out all those powers that be that crowned her, because they're probably going to say, maybe we should have had a democratic process because we're supposed to live in a democracy, and actually find out who the best candidate was. Because honestly, looking back, hindsight 2020, they had plenty of time to go through that process. And the way they did it might end up biting them in the ass.
Well, they had plenty of time, but you're forgetting they had one major problem. The reason that she became vice president to start with, and the reason that they could not replace her with somebody else whenever they wanted to remove, is because everything they do in that party is based on identity politics. That's what drives the Democrat Party. Every single decision they make has some element of identity politics wove into it. She became the vice president because, if you remember, at the time when he was running for president, Biden was saying that he was going to pick a black female as his running mate, right? He said that, long before, it was time to pick a running mate. So he boxed himself in right off the bat. You remember she was one of the ones running, and she was the first one out. Even the Democrats didn't like her. She was her popularity. She was like at 1% or something. Even her own party did not like her, and she was the first that got rejected from the field of Democrats that was running for president. And then he ends up picking her because he boxed himself in. And then she's the vice president. And then how do you, if you're a party and all you care about, basically every decision you make, a large part of it hinges on identity politics. How do you pass her over as a sitting vice president, a woman of color, and go to anybody else? The only way you could do that would go to another woman of color. And they honestly didn't have any room to do anything different, I don't think, based on who they are and what they do. And now they're paying the price for it, because now they've got a real dud as their nominee.
Well, you say woman of color. There is another one out there. I'm not talking about Oprah. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Michelle Obama. I mean,
right.
Obviously she didn't want it. And all I'm saying, Dr. Jackson, is there might be a little bit of buyer's remorse there if we wake up on November 6th and we see that Trump won in a landslide. I'm just saying there's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on in that party.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Michelle Obama's a smart woman. I was around her a lot as well. I certainly don't want her to be my president, and I'm glad that they didn't go down that path. But yeah, they could have done a lot better than Kamala Harris. There are probably countless women of color out there that would make good vice president or a good president, but Kamala Harris is not one of them.
So finally, Ronny Jackson, thanks for joining us. Finally, you're down there in the great state of Texas, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Kamala Harris and Beyonce will be hosting an event down there in Houston. What's your take on that? I mean, we're so close to the election. Trump has done this too. I mean, he's campaigned in New York. He's going to have an event in Madison Square Garden. He's not going to win New York, right? Kamala's not going to win Texas. What's your take on Kamala and Beyonce coming down there to Texas in your home state and doing a little bit of, outreach?
I don't know what they're trying to do. Honestly, she's not going to win Texas, that's for sure. I don't know if she's trying to help Colin Allred in his race against Ted Cruz. That race is a little bit closer than the presidential race. I'm not sure what their plan is. I don't care. They can spend the rest of the 2 weeks down here in Texas if they want to. That'd suit me just fine because they're not going to win Texas. Texas is not turning blue anytime in the near future.
Well, Ronny Jackson, former United States Navy officer, physician under Bush, under Obama, under Trump, United States representative from Texas. What an amazing career you have had and you continue to have. We hope to have you back on the show out here in Arizona. What did we learn today? So Bush stopped drinking. He wasn't drinking in the White House. Obama, maybe a martini here or there once in a while, and Trump doesn't drink a drop. I don't know, maybe we should get a president that does drink a little bit. Maybe they'd be a little more enlightened. Kamala's out there banging down the champagne. I have a feeling maybe it's Chardonnay or Rosé. I don't know, Representative. All I do know is that I hope for a peaceful transition of power. Whatever might happen, I really hope this country can come together, and that's my prayer today.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's time to get to work and get this country back on track. It's a mess right now.
There he is, United States Representative Ronny Jackson. We hope to have you back. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate it.
My name is Billy Harfosh, broadcasting from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Star Worldwide Networks. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll be back with more explosive interviews.